Dean Cripps from Ramsey and White Finance. You've been my broker, my financial broker for the last 7 years. You basically saw me from nothing to where I am now.
Yeah.
Now, what are the two major things that you as a broker look at before working with a client?
It's a really good question. I mean, really, we always find out what the client wants really, what their main objective is.
Yep.
And then once we know their main objective, then we can determine what path to go down.
Okay.
So, you know, to give you an example, generally speaking, 80-90% of our clients are property investors.
Yep.
So if their client's looking at, you know, a property at an auction, we want to know details about the property, ideas, you know, what the purchase price is or what they plan to go for, what the plan for the property is, like how much funds they've got, how much funds they're looking to raise.
Yeah.
And then once we got the information, then we can do the research and then get them the best deal. Sometimes the best deal, but it's actually the deal that's going to fund it and actually get them through to completion.
If you're trying to grow wealth and build wealth, the lending is restricted in trusts. There's only certain lenders that do it.
Yeah.
So you can set up trusts, you can buy properties in it, but then you've only got a handful of lenders that will do trusts. We've actually just done a 1.8 million value multi-unit block that's in a trust in London, and we got like almost specialist high street rates really. I think it was 5.7% on a trust, but it's not as open as many as people think. And then obviously you need to get the trust set up, which obviously comes at an extra cost. You got the accountancy element.
Yeah.
So there's a few things you got to kind of box off, but it does. I think from the longest perspective and the actual plan on it, it is a lot better. But you again to build wealth, it may not be the initial strategy you want to do because wealth is determined based on the person. What your wealth might be different to my wealth, and what your wealth might be different to my wealth. Obviously, I know what your wealth is, and you know it's like 100 million, but that might be to someone they only want, you know, they're happy with passing on £1 million. That's enough to someone. So I think everyone's, and I think that's more Richard's bag, where he will determine that via the later life. I don't want to say later life financial planning.
Absolutely. So Dean, a lot of people always ask me, when you raise private investors finance and then you use that as a deposit, all right, and how does bridging lenders or development funders, how do they see investors finance coming through my bank account, then apply for a bridging fund to bridge the difference in the actual total cost of a project?
It's a really good question. So the first thing I would say is most bridging lenders are completely fine with it. A lot of lenders are actually okay with it. But what they want to know is where the funds have come from.
Yep.
So if someone says, I've got an investor and money's in my account already, great, it's already there. But what they want to see is a loan agreement. Well, okay, so you've got this money, but where's it come from? What agreement have you got with that person? Does it affect the bridging lender? Does it affect their security? If it's no, then that's fine. But they're going to want to know who's giving you the funds, where the funds have come from, and they probably want ID and loan agreement and possibly the bank statement of where the funds have been transferred. And the reason for that is they want to make sure the source of funds is clean. It's not, you know, come from abroad. It's in the UK. It's it could be a business or it could be a person. You know, it could be a combination. But they want to make sure that the source of funds is fine. And it's really powerful to use investor funds along with bridging, because essentially if you've got an investor that gives you 100 grand and you go and find a couple of deals, and you may not have to put any money in the deal.
Yeah.
But you're putting your knowledge, your skill, your time to make that deal work. And then if it does work, everyone wins. There's a saying that I always use: if you win, I win.
Yep.
Which I think is really powerful, because if the deal stacks, everyone wins.
Absolutely.
Yourself win as a developer, the investor wins because he gets a return, that's all he wants. The bank wins, or the bridging lender wins, because they get a return.
Yeah.
And then fourth is the end product, is the person that's actually going to be utilising the whatever you've done. So that could be a tenant, that could be a housing association, you could have sold it to a first time buyer. Everyone wins in the chain.
Yeah.
But it's really key to obviously sort of skipping it, but you know, make sure that deal stacks.
Great, thank you so much for that. You mentioned during our last conversation, and you said, especially if the monies come from abroad, Now, can you kind of explain what that means? Because from time to time, you do have property developers who could maybe get an investor from China, from Singapore, from Nigeria, where I'm from. Although there's a lot of negativity about money coming from Nigeria, or for example, money coming from South Africa. What is that appetite of then a lender declining that transaction because it's come from abroad, or do they generally have appetite?
So it's a really good question, and I think the key is being transparent with the lender. So the more information you provide at the front end, the easier it will be.
Yeah.
So if the funds have come up from abroad, i.e. Nigeria or China, then having a source of wealth, a source of like trail of funds. If it's coming from abroad from a a high net worth individual, and you've got a profile of the individual, you've got a bank statement showing, possibly some lenders may want 12 months bank statements.
Yeah.
It is on the sort of the longer side, but if you go look, here's 12 months bank statements, you can see this account's got £2 million in it. We want a return, and we're happy to give a return on our loan agreement at 15%. That will be likely, it will be fine. But what we would do is we wouldn't just submit it with a lender. We would do due diligence, get it sent across, get them to box off and say, yeah, we're happy, then we move on. So the key is transparency. The biggest hurdle you'll find is, and you see where cases fall down, is the transparency, the due diligence hasn't been done on the front end. So what happens is the bridging lender doesn't do the check, it will be their solicitor, it'll get all the way to legals. You may have paid a lot of money at this point, you may have paid valuation, legal fees, application fees, you may have spent 1, 2, 5, 10 grand, and then it could fall down right at the end because the due diligence
wasn't done correctly.
Wasn't there. But as an experienced developer, you should do this. You should have a pack ready and say, look, this is the deal we're doing. So you've got a synopsis on the actual deal. This is the funding that we need. This is where the additional funding is. We've already got the loan agreement, the bank statements, ID, proof of address of that person, wherever it's coming from. If you provide it in a nice package case, it's very easy for a lender to go, yeah, this is an experienced guy. The cases that are slightly more difficult is the first time investor that aren't from China, gives them 100 grand. You don't have anything else.
You don't have the trace.
You don't have a trace.
Thank you so much, Dean. From Ramsey and White.
Yeah.